Guys, it's Tara and welcome back to Crafting with Curly Cues. Today I'm going to share with you my entry for the Lawnscaping Challenge number 127, Beautiful Florals. So I used several different Lawn Fawn stamp sets for this, so let's get started. First I'm going to start with the Flirty Frames stamp set, and I'm going to use this adorable little circle frame, and I'm going to go ahead and stamp that on some Bristol Smooth White cardstock, and I am going to use my VersaFine Black Onyx pigment ink for that. So this ink works really well with the Clean Color Real Brush Markers by Zig that I'm going to be using to color this today. It's nice and waterproof. You do have to let it dry because it's a pigment ink, but once it's dry, it is totally waterproof and awesome. And then I'm going to use this Blissful Botanicals stamp set from Lawn Fawn. This is one of their older sets, but it's super cute, and I really was just kind of wanting to do kind of a messy, kind of like color pop background. I like the look of messy watercolor, but I'm a little bit OCD and I have trouble doing it. So I thought this would be a good way to start with just some color pops instead of a whole messy watercolor background. So as you can see, I used the same ink and I just stamped a bunch of those images from the set kind of all over a A2 size card panel there with the Bristol Smooth White. And then I took a sentiment from the Hello Sunshine stamp set and stamped it on some vellum using the same ink. So while those panels are drying, because that pigment ink does take a while, I'm going to start some of my coloring, and I'm starting with this Flirty Frame. And I went through my 60 pack of Zig markers and I picked out all the ones that are the fluorescent colors. So there's a pink and a green and an orange and a yellow, and then I also picked out a violet color that's not fluorescent, but I thought that it went well with these colors because I just want these to be really kind of bright and fun and one color. So I'm scribbling some color on and then kind of pulling it out with my water brush here. And for the frame, that's not as messy, but as you can see as I come onto my panel here, I'm kind of scribbling color on one side and I'm purposely going outside the lines. I want it to be, you know, not super precise, but more of a loose, funky look. I don't know. This is me totally trying to step outside my box because I'm usually very like color inside the lines and color animals the right color and all that jazz. I'm not very good at going against the grain when it comes to that sort of thing. So I really wanted to try this out, and like I said, this is like my baby step because I don't have to do a whole messy background. It's just like these color pops. So it was a nice way to ease me into this messy watercoloring. So I'm just kind of going back over, I'm hitting it with my heat tool and then applying a little bit more color and then kind of blending it out. To go along with the messy look, I like that there's some kind of harsh lines. It's not super blended. So again, I'm just playing with it. This is totally just me experimenting. You can see now I'm picking out all those different colors. I don't actually end up using the yellow or the orange, but I wanted to have all the different kind of fluorescent options out. So here is that purple color that I used, and I don't remember exactly which one it is, but I'll be sure to list it on my blog, and I will go ahead and put it up in the corner here so you can see which colors I'm using. And again, same concept. I just put some of that color down and then use my water brush to kind of swirl it around, go a little bit outside the lines, coming back in and applying a little bit more color and just getting that color kind of all over the place. So that was my plan. So I really wanted to participate in this Lawnscaping challenge because I love floral images, and of course Lawn Fawn is absolutely one of my favorite, and I thought this was just a little different way to use Lawn Fawn stamps because I always envision Lawn Fawn stamps as like super cute coloring and scene stamps, so kind of making this more contemporary funky background with Lawn Fawn stamps I thought was just, for the way I use Lawn Fawn stamps anyway, a little bit different. So I thought that was really fun to kind of take those stamp sets that I'm used to using one way and use them a little bit differently. So I'm just doing all of the parts of the leaves that have the stripes on them, and that's all I'm going to color. I'm going to leave the rest really black and white. And then once that was dry, that first layer of green, I came in with the exact same fluorescent green, and I'm just coloring in every other stripe on those leaves. And because the first round was kind of doled out with the water, it's just enough difference that you can see the different brighter color pop on the stripes. So I thought that looked kind of fun and just added one more little element to the card. So now that everything that I want colored is colored, I'm going to go ahead and do some splatters. So I took that fluorescent pink and I scribbled it on my glass craft mat, and then I spritzed a little bit of water there. And I'm taking a paintbrush and just mixing that all up. And you can see it's like super light, but you can see it on this card panel. It's not super evident in the video right here, but when I show you the still shots at the end, when I kind of zoom in for you, you'll see that you can see these light pink splatters, and it really just adds kind of an extra element to the back panel. So I'm doing the same with some black, and I'm using the Lawn Fawn Black Licorice Dye Ink pad. I squished it on my mat, and now I added some water and swirl it around. And I'm just going to flick that right on there and get some black splatters on this panel as well. Oh, I thought I was going to sneeze. Excuse me, it didn't come out. But anyway, I'm just flicking all over. Again, this is just kind of adding to that messy, not perfect look of this panel. This is me stepping outside of my box. I really love the way that this panel turned out. I think it's super fun. And now while that dries, I did let that air dry. I think that the splatters are a little bit more intense when they air dry, so I try to let them air dry when I can. I took that vellum sentiment that I stamped, and I'm holding it over the top of my flirty frame and kind of using my pencil to draw a little circle towards the outside of the frame, because I'm going to go ahead and glue this vellum sentiment in that frame. And I wanted to do that so that you can kind of see the background through the sentiment. It's just kind of a little bit of added something for this card. I don't know. You couldn't see through it quite as much as I thought you'd be able to, but I still like that you can a little bit. So in order to make that work, I'm going to take my craft knife here, and I'm just going to cut all the way around the inside of this flirty frame. And then I'm going to pop that middle out. I'll go back in and get a couple pieces that didn't quite cut the way that I wanted them to. And then I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut out this frame. I don't have the coordinating dies, so I just fussy cut this out. I left a very thin white strip around the outside because you kind of have to for those little curly cues there on the end. And then you can see I'm going to go ahead and glue that frame right over the top of my sentiment. I love how perfectly this sentiment fits inside this frame. It's almost like it's meant to go in there. I think it's super, super cute. So now I'm going to flip that over, line that up. I put a little bit of my Zig glue pen on the back of that frame, and I'm just going to get that sentiment exactly where I want it and then squish it down. I did off camera took my black soot distress marker and lined the inside of that frame with the black, so it looks like it's cut out perfectly. And you can see now what that's going to look like when it's popped up on the front of the card. I love it. I think it's adorable. So now I have an A2 top folding card base made out of some Neenah Solar White, and I just took this black kind of chevron washi tape in my collection. No idea who makes this, but if y'all are anything like me, you've got about a bajillion washi tapes you could choose from to mimic this design. So anything will work here. And I'm going to line that up with the left side of my card base here. And I didn't line it up perfectly the first time, so I'm going to go ahead and redo that. And then I'll just flip it over and take my scissors and snip off the ends so that it only goes to the edge of the card. And then I do need to trim the card base up a little bit. It's folded ever so slightly crooked. I fold mine crooked just about every time I fold a card base. So if there's a secret to that I don't know, please share with me, because I trim down like every single card base that I ever make. So I have this black scrap of Simon Says stamp cardstock, and it's literally just from my scrap pile. It's longer than an A2 card, so I snagged it, and I'm just going to pop it on the front here right over the edge of that washi tape. And this is just going to kind of create a nice black line so that my panel has some distinction from the washi tape, and it just creates a nice border, and I really love the look of it. So now that that's on there, I'm kind of going to line up my card base with the lines on my craft mat and figure out how much of this panel I need to slice off in order to make the washi tape and the black stripe show through. So I decided I was going to cut it down about 3/4 of an inch. So it started out at 4 1/4, and now it's going to be 3 1/2 inches wide. And I am going to then take a piece of craft foam that I have, and this is 2mm craft foam. I just buy mine at like Hobby Lobby or Walmart or just your local store in big sheets, and they last me quite a while. But when I'm popping a big panel like this up, I like to use the craft foam as opposed to the foam tape, just because it supports the entire panel, and I think that it's a lot more stable if you send it through the mail, and it doesn't sag anywhere. So I think it's pretty awesome. I'm going to use my ATG gun to go ahead and sticky that up here and pop it right behind this cute little panel that we've created. So I'm just going to put that right on there. I do end up having to trim it a little bit. I didn't cut it super straight. And this little tiny piece was poking out the side. So I just trimmed that up, no big deal. And then I'm just going to put some more ATG on the back of that now that that foam tape's on there and pop it right up on my card. Sorry guys, gosh, that sneeze keeps like threatening. It must be dusty in here or something. I don't know. There's probably glitter or embossing powder or something floating around. I keep breathing it in. It's just the perils of hanging out in the craft room, I guess. So now I'm going to line that up with the fold on the top and then the right side of the card base and just press that down. And you can see that's what the panel looks like. I think it looks super cute. I really love the way it turned out. So far so good with this messy watercoloring. We'll see if I can expand into larger areas of color in the messiness, but who knows. So now I want this popped up, but as you can see, it's kind of because the vellum's there, there's not a lot of space to use to pop it up. So I'm going to cut some foam squares in half and make them pretty little. And then I'm just going to kind of use those little swirly edges on this frame and just put those little pieces of foam square in there. And that'll be how I pop this up on the front of this card base. You could cut some smaller ones and put them kind of around the frame if you wanted to. I figured this is probably going to be plenty of support for this, so I was okay with just leaving it there. So now at this point I'm kind of going to move it around on the card and see where I think it looks best. I toyed with the idea of putting it at the bottom, but I ended up liking it right there at the top, which is where I originally thought it was going to go. So I'm going to push that down, and I love how you can kind of see the pattern through the vellum, but not really. And then I added some black onyx sequins from Pretty Pink Posh and some gold stickles on the top of those little tulips. And this card is ready to roll. So you can see it close up here with the gold stickles and the black onyx sequins. I used the 4mm and the 6mm. I love how it turned out. I think it's so super cute. Thank you guys so much for watching. All the supplies are listed below and over at my blog. Check out the description box below for more crafty inspiration. You can join me on Facebook, Pinterest, and Instagram. And I've linked to the Lawnscaping Challenge down there. So if you like this video, please hit subscribe and leave me a comment. I'd love to hear from you guys. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks. Bye.